waves rolling in. Sand is surfing. Let the truth begin.
Diving deep where others fear to go. Promaga fire putting on a show. Sammy's dancing left and right. He spins. Aloha spirit, that's where it begins.
Hey, hey, Santa, ride that silver wave. Sammy grooving, nothing left to say. Banks are shaking, squeezes feeling tight. First lady shining in a silver dress bride.
Trump's returning, victory inside. Beach broadcast booming every day and night. Aloha joy.
Hold that dream so high.
Aloha, this is Santa Surfing. Welcome to Beach Broadcast. Today is Friday, May 15th, 2026. Oh my gosh, guys, my head is spinning. There's so much going on. I'm going to go ahead and cover the state visit in Beijing, China, and some other really great stuff. We had a great live yesterday, so that's why I couldn't get a podcast done because it was 2 hours long. Oh my gosh, but it was very engaging. If you can find my podcast on this brand new YouTube channel, it's about like a month and a half new. Actually, it's the very first channel they gave me 6.5 years ago, and they gave it back. So thank you to YouTube. And then you could also find my podcast on Rumble. So our show is sponsored by Pain Absolve. If you're suffering from some aches and pains, you're trying to wean yourself off of acetaminophen, and you want a natural supplement that doesn't make you drowsy, Pain Absolve may be your solution. A lot of viewers have been taking Pain Absolve for 5.5 years now, which is fantastic. But it also, people have said that it also helps heal their tendons and their tissues, which is wonderful. They have giveaways as well. It's with any combo order, you get a free bottle. That's like a $40 to $50 value. And then with any order, single bottle or combo, they are including a free Trump or MAGA gift. Right now they have these, but they're running low on these solar gifts. So, and then they will have something else. So you can go to painabsolverxpill.com or scan the QR code or go to the sponsor link below. So my last podcast was about President Trump arriving into Beijing and how he did get the royal welcome from 4 of China's delegates to meet with him, and kind of comparatively to the last president, illegitimate President Obama, he wasn't given that kind of fanfare at all. So this whole podcast is on just the significance of President Trump and Xi at their summit, how the children are celebrating. A lot more comms in this. So get yourself nice and comfy, guys, because oh boy, this is so. I did cry quite a few times before I recorded this because there's just so many great things on its way. President Trump did post this article, CNN Politics, 9.99 out of 10. CNN gives it a China scholar told CNN he rates the Trump-Xi summit a 9.99 out of 10. And for CNN to put that out, wow, shocker. Can you imagine their viewers and their audience? They're reading this and going, huh? Right? It's going to be so really wonderful what's on its way. On my last podcast, the message that the White House put out was the arrival everyone has waited for. With the children in the background waving their flowers and their flags and the celebration they have. Well, there's something that President Trump did say when he initially sat down with President Xi. But President Trump, on his Truth account, he posted this. It's about 2.5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and play this for you, and then towards the middle end, I'm going to kind of go through the comms. But this is pretty significant on how the big President Trump's role is in China. You've got two powerhouses. You got United States and China, two powerhouse nations uniting together. Check this out.
中国人民解放军仪仗队列举完毕，请您检阅。
Oh, doesn't that just bring tears to your eyes? Just seeing the children celebrate. Yes, they've welcomed other presidents to China before with the children, but this one has a significantly bigger meaning behind it. This is a really great deep dive. This is from iPaul or iPaul Canada on X. It says, did Reagan's 1984 China visit secretly include a young Trump? Check this out.
这是1984年中美建交后，首位在任美国总统里根访问中国的现场影像。登长城时，竟藏着一个和年轻特朗普一模一样的身影，眉眼轮廓、神态，甚至发型都高度重合。对比当年采访的画面，简直如同一人。当年4月26日，里根一行到达北京，数十万民众夹道欢迎，少年儿童手捧鲜花，高喊欢迎欢迎。 一场简约却庄严的阅兵仪式，尽显大国底气。封闭多年的中国，第一次以如此开放自信的姿态迎接世界超级大国的元首。全球。
Remember President Trump, he's been preparing all his life for this huge takedown. Here is a video of the prior president of China, who was the one that actually was in charge of the CCP, because the CCP, it looks like it's no more, which is phenomenal. But here is this is President Xi, and then this is the former president getting ousted. Check and literally walked out. He was kind of dragged out. Check this out. Kind of interesting. Jin Tao, wasn't that kind of a bad person in the movie Rush Hour? Now, again, were they kind of maybe indirectly referring to this? But what I also saw was a red folder. For the Anons and surfers, we know that we've seen a lot of red folders before. Does that mean that people got, dealt with the red folder comms? And here is President Xi, President Trump, and their introduction before they had their first meeting, and what they said. And listen to what President Xi, because he speaks first, listen to what he says from the very beginning.
Let me say a few words first. And then I'd like to invite you, Mr. President, to deliver your opening remarks. President Trump, I'm very pleased to meet you in Beijing. Welcome back to China after 9 years. The whole world is watching our meeting. Currently, transformation not seen in a century is accelerating across the globe, and the international situation is fluid and turbulent. The world has come to a new crossroads. Can China and the United States overcome the Thucydides trap and create a new paradigm of major country relations? Can we meet global challenges together and provide more stability for the world? Can we, in the interests of the well-being of our two peoples and the future of humanity, build a brighter future together for our bilateral relations? These are the questions vital to history, to the world, and to the people. They are the questions of our times that you and I need to answer as leaders of major countries. This year is the 250th anniversary of American independence. Congratulations to you and to the American people. I always believe that our two countries have more common interests than differences. Success in one is an opportunity for the other, and a stable bilateral relationship is good for the world. China and the United States both stand to gain from cooperation and lose from confrontation. We should be partners, not rivals. We should help each other succeed and prosper together and find the right way for major countries to get along well with each other in the new era. Mr. President, I look forward to our discussions on major issues important to our two countries and the world, and working together with you to set the course for and steer the giant ship of China-U.S. relations so as to make 2026 a historic landmark year that opens up a new chapter in China-U.S. relations. I will pause here and hand over to you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Well, President Xi, I want to thank you very much. First of all, that was an honor like few have ever seen before. And I think I was particularly impressed by those children. They were happy. They were beautiful. The military is obvious. It couldn't be better, but those children were amazing, and they represent so much. And I know they represent so much to you. You and I have known each other now for a long time. In fact, the longest relationship of our two countries that any president and president has had. And that's, to me, an honor. We've had a fantastic relationship. We've gotten along. When there were difficulties, we worked it out. I would call you, and you would call me. And whenever we had a problem, people don't know, whenever we had a problem, we worked that out very quickly. We're going to have a fantastic future together. Such respect for China, the job you've done. You're a great leader. I say it to everybody. You're a great leader. Sometimes people don't like me saying it, but I say it anyway because it's true. I only say the truth. And I just want to say, on behalf of all of the great delegation that we have the greatest businessmen, the biggest and I guess, the best in the world. We have amazing people, and they're all with me. Every single one of them, we asked the top 30 in the world, every single one of them said yes. And I didn't want the second or the third in the company. I wanted only the top. And they're here today to pay respects to you and to China. And they look forward to trade and doing business, and it's going to be totally reciprocal on our behalf. So I really look very much forward to our discussion. It's a big discussion. There are those that say this is maybe the biggest summit ever. They can never remember anything like it. I can say in the United States, people aren't talking about anything else. But it's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend. And the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. So we have the President Trump and Xi both talking about just building and to help the world. How big is that? But the world is watching. Then President Trump, I just want to go ahead and play this clip, and I'm going to give you my insight. You can decide on this though, but it was how President Trump, he even took a sip of champagne when they were celebrating and giving cheers to this meeting, this summit. Check this out.
Friends present. Cheers.
干杯
Cheers.
I'll tell you, the symbolism of that move was pretty significant because President Trump, he is toasting in public. We know he doesn't drink alcohol. He doesn't smoke cigarettes. He never did anything like that. So is this the first to see this happen? Xi toasted to saying cheers in Chinese, but was this toast for the first to ever happen? First public toast, first time we see the end of crimes against humanity, first time to see a world that's free. Seriously, think about the people in China that's lived under the CCP rule, how they are now going to be liberated from all of that, how we were living in America, how we've been living in a version of it, but it was hidden and it was masked by dirty politicians. And again, what are we going to do when we actually live even 1 week in a world that's completely free? What would our lives be like? How incredible that would be, right? Now, Elon, he stole the banquet by getting selfies. Look at the facial expressions. He's giving some funny facial expressions. And then he had Tim Cook come up to him. And like Elon he's so brilliant. He just likes to stay in his own world. And look at him give those facial expressions. He's having so much fun. But I did want to go ahead and point out to the very first person that got his selfie with him. I'm just going to go ahead and rewind this to this gentleman right over here, because this is a perfect example of when President Trump says never, ever, 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 ever give up. Okay, see that gentleman right here? Okay, see that beautiful smile? Well, look at Elon. Okay, now I'm going to just share something with you. Oh my gosh, I started crying when I read about this. Oh, and I love that the world is involved in putting all this stuff out there. This is posted by Carlo Martin at FACH0. In the year 2011, the then entrepreneur Lei Jun was busy selling on the street and nobody paid him any attention. Today, Lei owns Xiaomi, and he is part of the most important meeting of the year alongside Donald Trump and Jinping, and taking selfies with Elon Musk. Absolute cinema. Guys, this is where, okay, now Elon, he should be so cute. But guys, this is where you never, ever, ever, ever give up. And then did you also know in 2008, Elon was broke. He put all his money and everything into one project and it flopped, and he didn't ever give up, guys. So guys, if you're out there starting a business, please don't ever give up. I sometimes think that many people, they're just so close that they just all of a sudden, they just miss it by 1 month, 2 months maybe, but they have given up already. So like him, and he is on the world stage. How incredible is that? I'm going to get to a little bit more on this, but this is what President Trump through Il Donato posted. I'm telling you, did China have some honeypots out there trying to work the system? Not you, Stephen Miller, the woman behind him. Check this out. President Trump, 10 steps ahead, always. Let's shelf that for a little bit because I did want to go ahead and go through these couple of posts, and then I want to tie back into the President Trump being 10 steps ahead. President Trump and President Xi, they both went to the Temple of Heaven. Fox News even reported it as President Trump walked into the Temple of Heaven like an emperor. But remember when President Trump through Il Donato posted this about, I hope I get to heaven? And he's also posted some other emotional posts like this. Was he talking about the Temple of Heaven? Was he talking about entering that? Yes, we all know he's doing God's work. He's not a perfect man, but he's certainly perfect for the job. As with me, I can just say that. We're all called to do something. As with all of us, none of us are perfect. But we're perfect in God's eyes to do what he's called you out to do. Well, was he referring to the Temple of Heaven? I'm just going to play this clip here.
It's both of them.
President Trump? Xi主席。How were your talks, sir?
Great.
Did you talk about Taiwan,
Great
Mr.
place.
President?
Incredible.
他们
China's
谈得怎么
beautiful.
样？特朗普总统说谈得很好。Did you talk about Taiwan, Mr. President?
So that was Presidents Trump and Xi walking into the Temple of Heaven. Now that is open to the public. It just is a very sacred place. Although there was a place that they did go to that was very, very, very secretive. And oh boy. So let's go ahead and revisit what I was talking about, the security, President Trump being 10 steps ahead. This summit, it was truly significant. In 2017, President Trump and Xi, they met in the Forbidden City with only their wives, a translator, and very, very, very limited security team. Why? There were no leaks, no wiretapping, no leaks at all. They both were working hard to take down the deep state in their respective countries. May of 2026, this past week, Beijing summit, President Trump and Xi and their delegates had a meeting at this town called Zhongnanhai, China. And now it's interesting, if you take a look and try to even Google Zhongnanhai on a map, you cannot find it. Let me go ahead and show it to you. Let me go ahead and just put that in there, do a search. And they don't have Zhongnanhai in here. They have an amateur university, postal office, postal savings office, but there is no Zhongnanhai building, which is considered a very secret building. And this person from China, at G Friedman 9, posted, all 1.4 billion people in China should thank Trump. They should also thank foreign forces media. If it weren't for them, the 1.4 billion Chinese people would never know in their lifetime what Zhongnanhai looks like inside. Many compatriots who have visited the White House are unable to step into Zhongnanhai right at their own country's doorstep with the 5 big characters, serve the people written on it. This is indeed a bit embarrassing. If you consider yourself one of the people, the place that's supposed to serve you, you really can't get in. Does service need to be done behind people's backs? Okay, so that's how they wrote it, but I just want to go ahead and show you this clip on how they entered Zhongnanhai.
When other people from other countries, presidents and prime ministers, does he bring them here?
在其他的国家来的元首啊、总统啊，或者是总理什么的，您作为国家主席，也都会到这边来接待他们吗？
See that? No other president. So President Trump asked if, can you ask the president when other presidents or prime ministers from other countries visit, does he bring them here? And President Xi's answer is no. So this is where they had the delegates, and they had the CEOs of the corporations come in here, and then they were taking care of their business. And interesting enough, they were able to go ahead and catch this on camera, just a clip of it. I mean, it's incredible because this tells the world and shares with the world that he is not just the president of the United States. How many more times or signs do we need to see in order to validate this? So the meeting between President Trump and Xi went very well. President Trump didn't really talk a lot about the details of it, and he certainly wasn't going to tell the press about it. That will be in my next podcast because the press was really kind of, being the way they are. And President Trump treated them the way that they deserve to be treated. But that will, again, in my next podcast. President Trump, he posted this. It says, wait for it. Okay, so he's... this is made by AI, guys, but okay, we have, of course, this is a real clip right here, and then he's remembering the children. So we heard the clip about the children, how he was really excited about what's going on with the children, how they were dancing, and how exciting it is because he's been working all his life to help save humanity, especially the lives of children. And we, as Anons and surfers, we wanted to do the best we can to help them along. So this is what he posted. So really what was going on, they had to look all serious, but really what was going on is they were all having a big celebration, right? And then President Trump riding a tiger, dancing with the tiger. Look at that smile. Okay. And then sumo wrestling. I mean, just having a lot of fun, guys. And this right here kind of gives you an indication of what they were doing behind the scenes in terms of really, really celebrating and giving freedom to the people of both nations, our country and theirs. So while this happened and what happened yesterday, I didn't get a chance to report it in my podcast, the last one on Wednesday, because the Clarity Act advances to the Senate floor. It should happen by the 21st. The Senate Banking Committee passed the Clarity Act. Now, why is that big? Because the Clarity Act ends all corruption. President Trump returns from China. The new federal chairman, Kevin Warsh, he takes over. Jerome Powell's just got a few more hours and then he's bye-bye. And then President Trump will have his power team in place. Clarity Act ends all financing of corruption, ends money laundering, ends all of that. And then we're going to be expecting the pushback from the left because that's how they roll. But this is a Delta for today. Abraham Lincoln, quote, "We the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who would pervert the Constitution." And President Trump, what he's doing is he's taking this whole Constitution, our Constitution, and the different countries' Constitution or their rights, their human rights, humanity rights back. So going back to that tiger post, when he said, wait for it, and he just danced with the tiger, I just wrote, I love this. He likes this. That means celebration time, guys. Celebration is how I look at this. Tie everything in a bow. President Trump, I had shared this with you already, but this is a short thread. He walks in front of President Xi during the inspection of the military. The military stood proud. The final walk with the children celebrating is the full circle. The children waving flags and flowers and celebrating. President Trump's fight and our fight to save the children around the world. It's the very reason all of you that's listening to this podcast woke up and you sacrificed so much. So did President Trump. And now the signs that this is really truly a sign that the children around the world are free. The White House account posted full circle moment. So again, the full circle, I'll get to a little bit of that just at the very end here. The full circle moment, however, it had a picture of Marco Rubio wearing the tracksuit. Now, we talked about that a little bit on my last podcast, but was this a sign, because he's the Secretary of State, and would the tracksuit imply the prior SOS, Hillary Clinton, would she get Maduro, and this is what Maduro wore, will she get Maduroed? And then Dan Scavino, he posted this. President Trump is in China where it is 5:25 a.m., a big day ahead. Stay tuned throughout the night in the United States. The actual timestamp of his post was actually 5:26. But he also posted an eagle and rocket. So eagle soars, rocket, what soars, right? Well, that's a 1 minute difference. The difference is 1 minute. Q1 is about HRC getting arrested. Remember, earlier this month, Chuck Grassley had requested the documents of the foundation, the Clinton Foundation, from the DOJ and FBI. The DOJ, FBI had to return it to Chuck Grassley by this past Monday. No word on that yet. But once that's all revealed, she and several politicians, past and present, they're done. Then we have President Trump and his army of cabinet members and CEOs that are in China. While they left, on the day they left, this new task force opened up, the White House Fraud Task Force to eliminate fraud. And they've been coming out and hitting it hard. President Trump, he gave us a lot of hints. He was wearing a royal purple tie at an Oval Office meeting. He was talking about bada 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 boom, right? Fire, boom. Well, did you know that McDonald's, they had their banner changed to bada bada ba, guys. So is it a McDonald's calm that he was saying, and that there would be boom? And this is what I want to talk about in my next podcast, because the press got served McDonald's hamburgers while President Trump and his delegates and they got served a very beautiful banquet meal with President Xi. So then it goes and ties it to the Clarity Act. It's bigger than the financial world. It ends the financing and the schemes that cause crimes against humanity and other crimes. The big banks laundered money. They didn't care. The dirty politicians, they got their kickbacks. This Clarity Act that just passed the Senate Banking Committee and now it advances to the floor, it ends that corruption. It's going to be a phenomenal. President Trump, he waited for this moment for years, and here he is again shaking hands with President Xi as they tour the Temple of Heaven. And I talked about this, about taking down the deep state, but the meeting held in the Forbidden City was done for security reasons. And then they go to the other secret place, guys. You can't find it on any Google map or any kind of map. How secretive is that? Yeah. And then we have how we're very transparent and very loud about the new system coming in. It's not just a financial system. It's more than that. It's the freedom of our lives, the children's lives as well. And then it happened to be all of this was happening around on Ascension Day, which was May 14th, just yesterday. So Ascension Day is 40 days after Easter. Isn't this incredible? Our lives ascending into something beautiful that we could celebrate. So it was exactly a year ago today that President Trump was in the Middle East. He was in the Middle East from the 13th through the 15th, from Saudi Arabia to Qatar to the UAE. And so he did that. Then he went to, so this is and again, you can go ahead and click on that link and it will take you to this, but then he ends up in Alaska as well. He ends up in Alaska to have his summit with Russia, with President Putin. And then after that, he had his UK royal visit, which was really amazing because that really showed the whole world that just the entrance alone was big enough. But he had his royal visit. Oops, let me go ahead and let me kind of pass through that royal visit, where he was in a golden carriage that's also only held for coronations, right? So this is the end of the Alaska summit. Okay, there we are with the royal carriage, the golden royal carriage that escorted him and Charles over to Windsor Castle. And then he ended up in Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea, and that's where he was gifted the imperial crown in South Korea. And also he got to meet with the emperor as well. So this is just a really fun, the first president ever to actually, this is very rare. The Emperor of Japan, he doesn't stop his day and meet with anybody, and he did with President and Melania Trump. And then in South Korea, he was gifted a gold medallion and an imperial crown. Remember that? I mean, a crown, guys. Is that symbolic of what's going on? And then we have today in Beijing. So all of this happened all in 1 year. Now, it doesn't include the visits he got from other leaders from the nations coming to the White House, but this is everything he did for his overseas trips. is this the wrap? Was this the final? And saving the children, saving the world. But think of this. Aren't you God's children? Yes, you are. Yes. Children symbolic of you being God's child, and how our lives are going to just change dramatically. When? We don't know. But boy, these signs are so clear to all of us, right? And that would be us jumping up and down and celebrating, because we know that there's something beautiful right there on the horizon. And the White House posted this: the beginning of history. President Trump arrives in Beijing, China to kick off the landmark state visit. So again, we have not heard about any investments, anything coming back. It was all very quiet. So President Trump more than likely is going to go ahead and just roll it out without Congress or anybody knowing about it, because he's going to do what he needs to do in order to get the world to start thriving again. Oh man, thank our Lord in heaven for all the beautiful things he's doing. All these miracles happening right in front of our faces, right? How incredible is all of this? Well, and I want to thank you for being part of God's army. Had it not been for you, we would have never, ever been able to get to this point. And President Trump, he needed us. God needed President Trump to lead the way, and President Trump needed us to help fight with him, alongside him, so that we can go ahead and get our lives into what God wants for all of us, which is just jubilee, prosperity within. God bless you so abundantly. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. Have yourself a very beautiful day, afternoon, evening, and I will have another show very soon. Aloha.